please remain quiet. This is the only way you will survive. After all, it's watching you. But where did these mysterious creatures come from? This starts from New York a few days ago. New York is a global trendsetter, a city full of noise and energy, with an average noise level of 90 decibels, similar to a continuous scream. But some people escape this hustle and bustle, like the protagonist Sam, suffering from a terminal illness, living in a nursing home in the outskirts, her only possession being a cat named Frodo, while the caregiver Ruben takes care of her. This is a nursing home for hospice patients, naturally quiet and peaceful. Sam is not living happily here. On that day, Ruben noticed her bad mood. To make Sam happy, Ruben invited her to a movie half an hour later. Sam said, "We might be dead by then, but there will be delicious pizza." Sam accepted the invitation. She went back to the house and prepared for the trip, put on a special pain relief patch, took her MP3 player and Frodo, and they set off on the journey to the city center. She observed the bustling city through the car window, appearing strong on the surface. Sam was still a young person longing for excitement. Soon, the bus arrived at the theater, where a puppet show was scheduled for the day, resulting in many children in the theater. Frodo even caught the attention of a young boy, and the performance started swiftly. But this lively and hopeful performance, it makes Sam sad. She left through the back door holding Frodo, only to find another kind of bustle behind the door, which was New York's Chinatown. Sam didn't run around. She arrived at a Chinese small shop. Police cars whizzed by outside, but Sam paid no mind. After all, it's the land of the free, where gunshots are heard every day. Ruben received an urgent call. Inform him of changes in the city. They must return to the nursing home immediately. Ruben said, "We'll have pizza another day." But Sam knew, she didn't have many days left. Maybe the next minute, maybe the next second, she'd say goodbye to the world. But Ruben's stance was firm. He had to go back to care for the elderly in the nursing home. In the end, Sam relented, agreeing to order pizza delivery that evening. Then they boarded the bus. Sirens blared on the streets. Sam leaned against the window, her eyes gazing outside. Suddenly the bus stopped. Her fellow patients crowded at the back of the bus. They looked up at the sky. As she walked out from the ashes, the lively Chinatown is now completely silent. Thick smoke filled the street, blocking visibility completely, making it impossible to see far ahead. But Sam saw with her own eyes, men being dragged into the mist, even soldiers being taken away. She quickly hid behind the car. She finally saw clearly what was causing trouble.
Run!
The intense shockwave from the explosion knocked Sam unconscious. When she woke up in the theater, her mouth was immediately covered, gesturing for her to stay quiet, before slowly releasing grip. Survivors were hiding in the puppet theater, everyone silent, the oppressive atmosphere suffocating. At that moment, Sam spotted Ruben in a corner, and they embraced silently, grateful for each other's survival. Ruben returned Frodo to Sam. At this moment, a plane flew overhead, its propeller noise echoing from above. Shortly after, a monster landed on the theater roof. Frodo, startled, broke free from Sam's grasp, and she and Ruben hurried towards the back door. Various items scattered on the ground, while the monster prowled outside the theater doors. The two dared not take another step forward, afraid that any sound would attract the monster's attention. They watched Frodo nervously, but then the unexpected happened. Sam held Frodo in her arms. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she still dared not make a sound. While the monster drew closer, Ruben had no time to get up. The monster was already in front of him. At this critical moment, a plane flew by on the radio again, and the monster immediately chased outside. Sounds of impact came from outside, gradually returning to silence. Sam hid in the bathroom, turned the tap to minimum. She wiped the dust from her face with a damp cloth. The pain relief patch on her body has worn off, the pain growing stronger. Sam returned to the theater once more. Someone with headphones listened to the radio, jotting down the areas that had fallen. The entire globe was covered with paper strips. The end of the world truly arrived. Suddenly, sounds came from outside again. Everyone ran to the rooftop to check. This prosperous city is already devastated. Flames raging, gunfire echoing. They could only watch as New York turned to rubble. Humanity is facing a great catastrophe. Men can't accept all this, he shouted out loud. The elder covered his mouth, but couldn't stop him. The old man exerted too much force, accidentally killing the man. The old man could only softly apologize. Otherwise, everyone would die. Sam and the two returned to the room, communicating in the most primitive way. She wrote on paper, wanting to go to Harlem for pizza. Before she died, this was her last wish. Ruben still refused. But then the lights in the theater suddenly went out, plunging everything into darkness. Immediately after, the emergency generator kicked in, emitting a loud noise. Ruben rushed out immediately, urgently shutting down the generator. But before Sam could react, Ruben's clothes were torn by the machine. In the next moment, he was abducted by the monster. Sam covered her mouth, afraid to make a sound. Even if her friend is killed, she can't cry bitterly. Sam looked at the words on the notebook, finally made up her mind. She wanted to go to Harlem to buy a pizza. Sam carefully walked across the cluttered ground. She carried the cat out of the puppet theater. Outside had turned into ruins, with no one on the streets. She went to the store again to pick up some daily necessities. Then, she led Frodo on the journey. To avoid making noise, she wrapped the canned food in a sweater, then opened it and feed it to Frodo. Sam discovered two children hiding by the fountain, immediately sharing her food with them. At that moment, several planes flew across the sky, guiding people to the South Street Pier for evacuation by boat, as the attackers couldn't swim, where they could find refuge at sea. Sam signaled for the children to stay quiet, following her, they hiding in the stairwell. The loud noise from the planes once again put the monsters in hunting mode, gradually dispersing the surrounding noise. Sam wanted to assess the situation. Waiting for the sounds to completely disappear, they cautiously made their way towards the pier. The other survivors who heard the broadcast took to the streets, soon forming a huge crowd, but not a single person dared to make a sound. It was just too stifling. Sam had the children follow the larger group, while she continued on to Harlem in search of pizza. In such a situation, where a large number of people gather are under extreme mental pressure, it was easy to trigger a collective loss of control, similar to what was known in ancient times as Camp Howling. But the scene they least wanted to see still occurred. Monsters suddenly appearing on the streets. Someone let out a scream, instantly triggering panic among the crowd, pushing and shoving each other in a rush to escape. Sam was knocked down to the ground, and Frodo took the opportunity to escape. To avoid being trampled by the panicked crowd, she quickly curled up, protecting her head. While the monsters reveled in their killing spree, Sam found an opportunity to hide under a car. With the sounds of human screams all around her, she lowered her head, trying to steady her breathing, but then someone grabbed her ankle. The man was still taken by the monster, while Sam's foot was also caught under the car. She exerted all her strength to free her trapped foot. She crawled out from under the car, running for her life in the street, seeking refuge in an alley filled with garbage, while Frodo, who had run off, was actually chasing a rat in the street, until the rat escaped into the sewer. Frodo ran to the puddle to drink water, but unexpectedly, a man in a suit emerged from the water. He breathed in big breaths of oxygen. Frodo carefully examined the man. Frodo brought him to Sam's side. Sam gestured, indicating he to go south, but the man in the suit followed behind her. Despite Sam's repeated attempts to drive him away, the man refused to leave. Rain started falling from the sky, accompanied by thunder. Sam remembered the two children hiding in the fountain, who had managed to survive the night. So Sam speculated that the monsters might fear water. Thus, rainy days could allow for quiet communication. So she quietly asked the man for his name, why he didn't head to the South Street Pier. He introduced himself as Eric. Sam told him there were boats at the pier that could evacuate them to safety. He didn't need to follow her. Eric didn't want to act alone, so Sam took Eric back to her former apartment. Outside, lightning flashed and thunder roared, providing cover for them to break in. After Sam entered the house, she immediately searched the drawer for medicine. Her muscles felt like they were burning. She also asked Eric, "Are you worried about the safety of your family? Doesn't he want to go home?" But the man replied, his parents were far away in Kent, England, and he had come to New York to become a lawyer. Sam once again expressed that he must leave the city for the seaside to have a chance of survival. She wanted to go to Harlem to buy pizza, which surprised the man greatly, as the apocalypse had already arrived. And where would there be pizza? But Sam felt that there must be some unsold pizza there. Eric then asked her instead, "Can I come with you?" Sam handed him the diary. Above is the countdown she wrote, telling Eric not to be foolish, that no matter if the monsters appeared or not, her time was running out. At that moment, thunder rumbled, Sam shouted loudly with the thunder, and Eric followed suit, letting out the pain of those days. The next morning, Eric was still asleep. Sam continued on her journey, but only with Frodo by her side. She picked up a novel from the stream, and sat at the bookstore entrance flipping through it, but Frodo stared intently behind her. Sam thinking a monster was behind her, but it was Eric who caught up. He returning the diary to Sam, saying he had decided to follow her. Sam felt helpless, but as she packed up, she accidentally knocked over a nearby bookshelf. The two of them immediately ran towards a large building, but the revolving door was blocked by debris. Eric exerted all his strength, and they rushed into the building immediately. Monsters smashed into the building. Sam and Eric ran back onto the wide street. Eric used a stone to smash the glass, and car alarms diverted the monsters' attention. They quickly fled into the subway station, but there was still a monster following them down the elevator. They hurried into an escape passage, and luckily, there was water in the tunnel. These monsters are afraid of water, and not good at swimming, so the two decided to escape along this waterway. Eric shone his flashlight above. There's a monster hiding in the hole. Sam moved the light away from the monster, and they continued along the water. The water grew deeper, and Eric's claustrophobia kicked in. He breathed heavily. He made a sound. He startled the monster above his head. Sam quickly reassured him, and they immediately swam deeper. The ceiling monster kept getting closer to them, and the two quickly dove into the water. The monster following them into the water was soon drowned. They swam to the end of the waterway, climbed out through a cave, and surprisingly arrived at a church. The intense escape journey had drained Sam's energy. She lay resting in the chair, while Eric asked her what medication she needed. He took the list and went outside. He walking through the ruins to a pharmacy. Eric used a flashlight to read the list, carefully searching the shelves. Suddenly, there was a noise, startling Eric, but it was just the cat Frodo. After finding all the medications, as he was about to take Frodo back to Sam, Frodo was attracted by a scent, and slipped into a metal rack. Eric had to follow Frodo into the rack, because he knew the cat meant everything to Sam. After reaching a wide area, he saw Frodo licking an unknown object, and Eric was about to grab him, when suddenly a monster appeared. Eric hid behind the shelves. He watched Frodo climb to the heights. He also climbed up, surveying the surroundings again. The ground was littered with strange objects, like a secret feast for the monsters. One of the monsters broke open a spherical object. It made a strange cry. The other monsters came after hearing the noise. They all enjoyed the feast together. Eric attempted to leave the rack, but a monster appeared in front of him. The monster opened its mouth towards him. Eric held his breath and stayed still. The monster didn't notice anything wrong, and then left the rack. Eric held Frodo close. Tears filled his eyes. After composing himself, he returned to Sam's side, putting pain patches on her. Sam knew that this journey must have been very difficult. She was touched by the man's sincerity, and confided her inner secrets to him. Her father played the piano very well. When she was little, she used to go to the club to watch her father perform. After each performance, her father would take her out for pizza. However, her father had passed away long ago, and soon she would also pass away. The next morning, the two set off again, finally arriving at Patsy's Pizza in Harlem, but the shop had been bombed. Sam's hopes are shattered. She leaned on Eric's shoulder, and Eric didn't want to disappoint Sam, so he took her into the nearby jazz club, while he himself ran to the street, and found another pizza place. He brought a pizza back to Sam, though it wasn't the taste of her childhood, but Sam was still happy. The two sat together, sharing a large pizza. Frodo also snuck a piece, and Eric noticed some playing cards on the table, so he decided to perform a magic trick for Sam. The performance was like a silent film, silent but very captivating, and the performer was thoroughly enjoying himself. The audience was also very happy. After the perfect performance ended, they climbed to the rooftop balcony, and they discovered that the harbor was not far away, with even some boats passing by. Sam realized that the time for parting had arrived, and she handed her coat to Eric. The group hurried to the dock carrying the kitten, but escaping was not easy. The dock was surrounded by a large number of monsters. Sam bowed his head, and said goodbye to Frodo in his arms, and passed him to Eric. The man understood her intention as well, and Sam gestured for Eric to run quickly, then picked up an iron rod, continuously triggering car alarms. The noise instantly attracts the monsters. The dock also became very chaotic. and the people on the boat realized that there were survivors on the shore, prompting the boat to stop immediately. Eric held the kitten, rushing quickly towards the dock, with the monsters following him onto the bridge. At a critical moment, Eric dove into the water, and the monsters couldn't pursue further. Sam saw Eric successfully escape, and a relieved smile appeared on her face. Eric and Frodo successfully boarded the ship. The man pulled out a note from his pocket, in which Sam asked him to take care of Frodo, thanking him for everything he had done for her. Finally, she asked him to listen carefully. While Sam returned to the jazz club, she caressed her father's photograph. After, she carried a boombox onto the street, and brought music to New York. The movie ends here. The film does not focus on how aliens invade the Earth, or monsters brutally killing people, but intricately portrays human emotions. When the apocalypse arrives, the heroine, whose days are numbered, just wants to relive the wonderful moments with her father. So, a cat and a person went against the flow of people, and embarks on this journey of death, until she meets the male lead, Eric. With his help, fulfill her wish, and she leaves hope with Eric. The song that echoes through the streets at the end represents Sam, represents Eric, represents all of humanity. Facing disasters and catastrophes, they will never surrender. The community of human destiny will overcome everything. If you enjoy my channel, please hit the subscribe button.